It starts with the only thing that you have in your entire life is experience, right? Everything that your life is made up of one experience, the next experience, the next experience. Right? Mark Twain said, "Life is one damn thing after another," right? And so that's true. And we would add to it, it's also one blessed thing after another, let's say, and not just damned, but that's all you have is experience, right? And experience happens because you have a body, right? That in order for the consciousness of the universe, if you will, without getting too woo spiritual here, right, comes into form, and only when things are in form do they get to experience. Now, I suppose you could have the experience of universal consciousness, and some of us played around with that, right? But then, even then, you can record it to yourself because you're thinking about it or you're sensing it, right? Think about it. Every organism has a body, right? As soon as something comes in and is sensate, right, it has to have some kind of body, whether you're an amoeba or you're an armadillo or a human being, right? And the point of having that body, right, is that it allows you to have these experiences. I go so far as to say that we have a collection of bodies, a cognitive body, an emotional body, and so forth, a spiritual body, right? But even those, to register the experiences, happen through the somatic presence that you have in your physical body. If I have an emotion, if I feel sad or angry or happy, whatever it is, right? It's not just this abstract thing. There's certain parts of my brain, my amygdala and my limbic system and so forth, that are registering events with stimuli and generating the experience of sadness or anger or whatever those things are, right? Same way. So if we want to study our experience, and that's what the therapist client is basically coming and saying, I tend to have this kind of experience. I wish I could have that kind of experience. Then we want to take a look at, well, what experiences are you having? How come you're having those experiences, what we call study the organization of experience, right? In search of how can we help you have a different experience? Well, that different experience is going to happen in your body. That's what somatics is talking about. If we actually want to affect change, we're not affecting the idea of change. I can imagine being a nicer person, but even that imagination is happening because your brain generates that image, right? So all work has to be somatic at its core, right? If you limit it to just one sliver of the body, like just intellectual conversation, that's less effective and efficient than if we use all of the resources of all of the soma, right? The physical body that we have. Right? I think part of what has developed in at least certainly in Western culture and other parts of the world too, probably, right, is the idea that I have a body as opposed to I am this body. Right? So it's as if that's an object. Like I have a car, like I have a pickup truck, right? And so I have to attend to the pickup truck and I use it to drive around. But I don't think of it as that's who I am. It's not my identity. But in fact, my body is actually my identity. Like I don't can't go anywhere without having my body in some way. I can go into a dream state and imagine that I'm in New York, but I'm not actually in New York. I'm still here in Idaho, right? Because that's where my physical presence, my soma, actually exists. So when we do therapy, it is the most efficient part of the work is to say, not only will we look at the ideas that you have about your psychology, but let's study the way that you actually experience all of your experiences, your relationships, your sensations, your aspirations, right? Your disappointments, your love, all those things. Those are bodily events. And we can use the body, therefore, as both that's the holding place of those things and it's also the location in which change wants to happen. And that's the other part about the bodily somatic stuff that's so essential. Right? The body has its own, what we call in Hakomi, organicity, right? It knows exactly what it wants to do all the time unless it's interfered with. Right? Try holding your breath. Decide, I'm going to hold my breath for an hour, and you can do it for a minute or two. And then your body says, I'm not going to do this. This is ridiculous. And starts breathing again, or lets you pass out, and then you start breathing again. If I am using my body in service to other aspects of myself, like I have to shrink myself up so that I don't annoy anybody, right? Or I have to bluster myself up so that I can dominate, or whatever those bodily usages are, my body doesn't particularly want to do that. It's willing to because there's this kind of holographic hierarchy between the higher parts of the brain, like my idea of self, and the lower parts of the brain, like the autonomic nervous system. So we can also track what the body actually wants to do. Right? So if I'm holding my shoulders tight and the therapist works with me and with varying techniques, they can hold my shoulders in to help me, they can have me just study that tension, etc., etc. Right? Eventually, what my body's going to want to do is saying, I don't want to be tight like this. I want to be like that. And what the therapy provides is that opportunity for the organic, innate sense of wisdom that the body has to manifest itself, right? At the end of a somatic session, we're not going to be left stuck with, I have to have my head thrust forward or I have to tighten myself, right? We're going to be left with, if it's been successful, and that's over time, right? We're going to be left with, oh, it feels so much better. It feels so much more right. It feels so much more like the real me to be relaxed, to be fluid, to move again, right? To not have to shake all the time, whatever those things are.